In the harsh desert night, a thunderous roar shattered the silence. 1,000 guns ignited, signaling the beginning of an inferno. Here, in the desolation, empires would collide. Over 1,000 steel behemoths would soon meet, locked in a desperate embrace. Beneath the unforgiving sun, men fought not just an enemy, but the very earth itself. Survival was a prayer whispered on parched lips. By 1942, Nazi Germany's shadow stretched ominously, threatening to engulf the world. The sands of North Africa held a vital line. There are places on Earth that feel timeless, ancient. Places where history seems to lie dormant, waiting to erupt. In 1942, North Africa was just such a place, a desolate stage for a drama that would grip the entire world. Across Europe, the grim reality of war was etched into every face. Nazi Germany's unstoppable advance seemed absolute. From the frozen plains of the Soviet Union to the burning sands, their ambition knew no bounds. An entire continent was held captive. But even in this seemingly barren landscape, the stakes were unimaginably high. A desperate stand was about to unfold. This wasn't just another battle, it was a desperate gamble. A test of wills, of courage, and of sheer human endurance. The Second Battle of El Alamein wasn't just a clash of arms. It was where the fate of empires would be decided. In that crucible of sand and fire, men would face their deepest fears, fighting for a future they barely dared to imagine. More than 1,000 tanks would soon ignite a desert inferno. A struggle for survival on an unprecedented scale. Join us now as we uncover the human stories woven into the brutal tapestry of El Alamein, a true turning point in history. This desolate land, seemingly forgotten, held the fate of empires. The North African desert, a stage for desperate ambition. In the early 1940s, the war's hungry gaze turned south. A new front opened, vast and unforgiving, far from Europe's shattered cities. Here, not just enemies, but the very earth fought against them. Heat, dust, and endless horizons tested every soul. The prize was immense. The Suez Canal, a vital artery, the Middle East's precious oil, a global lifeline now threatened. The early campaigns were a chaotic dance of advances and retreats. Empires vied for control, with fortunes shifting like the desert sands. Italy, with its own ambitions, initially bore the brunt. Their brave soldiers faced the desert's harshness and the British might. The British Commonwealth forces, hardened by experience, pushed back, their determination etched into every advance across the vast emptiness. The Desert War was a cruel seesaw, an endless cycle of gains and losses. Each victory was fleeting, each defeat a bitter lesson. This wasn't Europe's green fields, it was a grinder. The desert consumed men and machines with impartial, brutal efficiency. Every mile gained, every position held, came at a cost. The strain of constant battle under an unforgiving sun was immense. Then came a new force, a commander whose name would echo through history. Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, arrived. With audacious speed and cunning, he turned the tide. Rommel's tactics were a bewildering storm, catching his enemies off guard. His reputation soared, a shadow across the Allied lines. The Desert Fox, master of deception and lightning strikes, became a legend. He led from the front, sharing the hardship, inspiring his men. His presence alone was a powerful weapon in the desert. For the Allies, his elusive maneuvers were a constant source of frustration. How to cage a fox that moved with such unpredictable grace. Yet, even genius faces limits. The vast desert, while his canvas, would also eventually reveal its own unforgiving constraints. The Suez Canal, connecting east and west, was more than just water. It was the pulsing vein of global trade and war efforts. And beyond, the vast oil fields of the Middle East beckoned. Fuel for tanks, planes, and industry. The lifeblood of modern war, Nazi Germany craved these riches, a lifeline for their overstretched war machine. Control meant dominion and a new era of power. For the Allies, losing them was unthinkable. They would defend these vital lifelines, no matter the cost, with every fiber of their being. The Allies fielded a growing arsenal of tanks, sturdy Crusaders, then the formidable Shermans, each a testament to industrial might. Nazi Germany relied on its panzers, swift and well-engineered, a fearsome sight, dominating the early desert skirmishes with cold efficiency. While quality varied, sheer numbers began to tell a story. The Allies, with their immense industrial capacity, were catching up. Inside these metal beasts, young men braced for the Inferno. Their courage, as much as steel, would decide the desert's fate. Above, a silent, deadly ballet unfolded. The Royal Air Force and the Luftwaffe fought for supremacy, their aerial ballet claiming countless souls. On the ground, a diverse tapestry of nations stood firm. Commonwealth soldiers, united by purpose, endured the relentless desert heat. Facing them, the tough Africa Corps and Italian divisions. Their resilience, though tested, reflected a desperate loyalty to their cause. As the war dragged on, the sheer weight of manpower began to tilt. The Allied armies grew, a swelling tide against the Axis. For Nazi Germany, the desert was an endless hunger. Supplies, stretched thin from Europe, vanished into the vastness. The Allies, too, wrestled with distance and demand. But their maritime routes, though perilous, offered a more steady flow. Water, fuel, spare parts, precious commodities in this arid hell. Their scarcity dictated strategy, and often, destiny itself. Every mile from port was a gamble, every truck a target. The desert's logistical demands were relentless, suffocating. Without constant replenishment, even the finest army with the best leaders falters. The desert was a graveyard for forgotten machines. The Desert War demanded new thinking, new blood. A string of command changes reflected the desperate need for a decisive hand. Into this crucible stepped Bernard Montgomery, a new general, bringing with him a fierce resolve and a methodical mind. He instilled discipline, belief, and a clear vision. The tired Allied forces found a renewed purpose under his unwavering gaze. Meanwhile, Nazi Germany's ambition stretched across a continent. The Eastern Front, a gaping maw, devoured men and resources endlessly. Every drop of fuel, every bullet sent to Rommel, was diverted from another desperate front. Their lines, painfully extended, were a fatal weakness. Beneath a shroud of desert night, a profound quiet settled. Yet, a storm of unimaginable fury was about to break upon this ancient land. Fear, a cold companion, clung to every man. They knew what was coming, a baptism of fire in the darkness. Then came the word. Operation Lightfoot was to begin. A bold, desperate gamble etched onto the very sands. At precisely 9:40 p.m., a deafening roar tore through the quiet. The great barrage had begun its terrible symphony. The desert sky ignited. 1,000 guns thundered, painting the night with fiery strokes of destruction and despair. For 5 long hours, the earth trembled. It was a storm of iron and flame, meant to shatter the spirit of those below. The very ground groaned under the assault. It felt as though the world itself was being torn apart, piece by piece. Every soldier, Allied and Axis, knew this sound, a brutal prelude to the horrors that would inevitably follow. As dawn neared, the barrage softened, leaving behind a scarred, smoking landscape. The Inferno had cooled, but the danger remained. From the dust and the silence, the infantry emerged, their faces grim, their resolve tested by the sheer scale of the bombardment. Their objective, the Devil's Gardens, a chilling name for the densely mined Axis lines, where death waited patiently. Each step was a gamble, a whispered prayer. Every shadow held the potential for instant, agonizing oblivion. The brave engineers led the way, their lives held in the delicate sweep of a detector, searching for hidden teeth. They cleared paths, inch by agonizing inch, a lifeline for those who followed. every successful defusal a small miracle, but the desert held countless traps. The sudden, deafening blast signaled another life tragically cut short. The toll was heavy, a constant bleed of courage and sacrifice, yet they pushed forward, a brotherhood of sorrow. Even the mightiest machines faltered. The desert, once a canvas for grand maneuvers, became a treacherous, unyielding maze. Frustration mounted, a gnawing worm of doubt. The grand advance had bogged down, caught in the devil's cruel embrace. The stalemate was brutal, a grinding halt to hope. Days bled into nights with little progress, only exhaustion. Montgomery understood the cost. This wasn't the swift victory he envisioned. A new approach was desperately needed. He pivoted, adapting to the cruel reality. This battle would become a dogfight, a brutal war of attrition. The Australians, hardened by desert fighting, would lead the charge, their ferocity unmatched, their courage legendary. They surged forward, a wave of determined men, into the teeth of the Axis defenses. A ferocious, desperate attack. The Axis lines buckled, but did not break. Each defender fought with the desperation of a cornered animal. The fighting was savage, often hand-to-hand. A brutal, intimate dance of survival, etched in blood and dust. Rommel, the desert fox, watched his lines crumble. He knew the Allies' renewed ferocity meant dwindling time. With dwindling resources, Rommel ordered a desperate counterattack. He gambled on audacity, one last, fleeting hope. The desert became a stage for monstrous machines, colliding in a maelstrom of steel and fire. A titan struggle. Every shell fired, every engine roar, spoke of the immense pressure. Axis forces fought with incredible tenacity, but the desert held a silent, insidious enemy. Logistics. Every mile gained, every shot fired, depleted their lifeline. Fuel, the very lifeblood of a mechanized army, was desperately scarce. Rommel's forces were slowly being strangled. The empty cans, scattered like fallen soldiers, told a grim tale. Without fuel, mobility became a cruel, distant memory. Above, Allied air superiority reigned. Their planes were the eyes in the sky, and the hammer that broke resistance. From the heavens, relentless attacks rained down. Every Axis movement was observed, every defense a potential target. There was no respite, no safe haven from above. The desert became an open, exposed stage for Allied dominance. The relentless pressure from above, coupled with fuel shortages below, slowly, inexorably, broke the Axis will. A grim determination replaced the earlier frustration. The dogfight, though costly, was turning in their favor. Rommel, watching his forces dwindle, knew the tide had turned. The desert had claimed another tragic chapter. The cost of this grinding attrition was immeasurable. Lives sacrificed, dreams shattered in the merciless desert inferno. As dusk fell, the desert claimed its dead, a silent witness to humanity's brutal, unyielding struggle for supremacy. The Devil's Gardens had been traversed, but the battle for El Alamein was far from over. The real test still awaited. As a new dawn broke over El Alamein, a heavy stillness settled. Beneath it, the echoes of countless sacrifices already made. Montgomery, a man of quiet resolve, knew this was their moment. Operation Supercharge was his decisive hammer blow. The desert bristled with anticipation. Thousands of men and their machines of war waited for a signal that would change everything. In those quiet moments, men faced their deepest fears. Each sip of tea, a silent prayer for strength and for home. Across the desolate sands, a network of nerves was strung, connecting every desperate heart to the grand strategy. Time, that relentless master, moved slowly now. Every second a lifetime, every breath a silent question mark. The steel behemoths stood poised, their hungry maws ready to unleash a storm. A grim ballet of destruction. High above, other brave souls prepared. Their wings would soon tear through the morning, a prelude to chaos, a whisper on the airwaves, A single word would shatter the quiet. The desert held its breath. Then, a distant flash, a rumble. The first spark of the Inferno had ignited. The battle was truly joined. The skies above Alamein tore open as Allied aircraft descended. A concentrated aerial bombardment began. Below, the desert floor trembled. Each explosion, a harsh testament to the relentless power unleashed from above. For those below, the sky had turned against them. Terror gripped hearts as the earth itself seemed to shatter. Moment after moment, a terrifying symphony of destruction. The concentrated aerial attack sought to break the Axis will. When the aircraft finally departed, a scarred landscape remained, a grim canvas for the next wave of torment. Then came the thunder from the ground, a relentless, deafening artillery barrage, a storm of steel and fire. Across the desert, the shells flew, each one carrying the weight of hope for some and despair for others. The gunners, tireless, fueled by grim determination, poured fire onto the foe. Their arms ached, but their resolve held. The Axis lines endured a concentrated fury, every explosion eroding their defenses and perhaps their spirit. It was a spectacle of raw, destructive power, meant to soften the enemy for the human wave that would follow. In the dusty haze, the British 9th Armored Brigade prepared. Their courage was to be measured in sacrifice, a deep breath, a final thought for those left behind. The burden of command and of impending sacrifice was heavy. Shells clicked into chambers, a grim promise of fire. They knew the cost, yet they moved forward. Engines rumbled, a collective roar of defiance against fear. They were about to charge into the Inferno. Montgomery watched, knowing that success hinged on these brave souls. Their charge, a gamble with destiny. With a roar, they moved. The 9th Armored Brigade's sacrificial charge was a desperate dash against formidable odds. But the Axis anti-tank screen, though battered, remained lethal. Tracers lit the desert like vengeful spirits. Each explosion, a heart-wrenching loss. The cost of breaking through was immeasurable, paid in young lives. Amidst the burning wrecks, desperate men fought hand to hand. A brutal, personal struggle for every inch of ground. It was a crucible of fire and steel. The desperate fight to shatter the anti-tank screen was a monumental effort. Through sheer will and immense sacrifice, they broke through. The anti-tank screen, shattered at horrific cost. Now, the surviving Nazi German panzers emerged. A massive tank melee engulfed the desert, steel grinding against steel. This was the heart of the storm. Tanks clashed, a desperate, close-quarters battle for survival in the Inferno. The sheer weight of the Allied assault, fueled by relentless courage, began to overwhelm the defenders. Miles away, Rommel watched his forces crumble. The Desert Fox saw the inevitable, a bitter truth. But in distant Germany, a different will prevailed. Hitler, oblivious, clung to a dangerous delusion. Rommel pleaded for retreat, a lifeline for his shattered army. A general's duty, begging for reason. But Hitler's answer was a catastrophic stand-fast order. No retreat, no surrender, only ruin. It was a strategic blunder of monumental scale, dooming thousands, a tragic defiance of all military sense. This folly was the catalyst. The Axis lines collapsed. A general retreat across the vast, unforgiving desert began. The tide had truly turned. El Alamein was a devastating defeat for the Axis, a beacon of hope for the Allies. After the storm, a new dawn broke over the ancient sands. The breakthrough was secured, but the pursuit had just begun. There was no pause for breath. The desert wind whispered tales of a relentless chase, pushing forward day and night. For the Panzer Army Africa, retreat was a brutal, desperate scramble. The desert, once an ally, now became their unforgiving judge. Artillery roared, planes swooped low. Every mile gained was a testament to Allied resolve, a relentless hammer blow. The once mighty Desert Fox, now cornered, found little escape. The sands swallowed their hopes, one painful mile at a time. The relentless pursuit culminated in a stark reality. Across North Africa, the Axis dream withered, their formidable armies broken. A chapter closed in the vast desert. North Africa, once a crucible of ambition, finally fell silent under Allied control. The cost was immense, etched on every weary face. Yet a quiet victory settled upon the souls of those who fought. The red lines faded, replaced by green. The total defeat of the Axis in North Africa was now a somber, undeniable truth. The desert wind carried whispers of finality. A great struggle had ended, leaving scars and lessons across the arid land. El Alamein was more than a battle. It was a pivot. Its immediate consequences rippled, shifting the very tide of war. With the immediate threat gone, eyes turned to the future. The long-term echoes of this victory would redefine the global conflict. A new confidence bloomed. The Allied command, once on the defensive, could now envision a bolder, brighter path. News traveled fast, carried by wind and wire. A world held its breath, then dared to hope, sensing a change. For those on the front lines, the victory meant an easing of fear, a flicker of hope for home, for peace. This was it, the turning point. El Alamein was a beacon, guiding the Allied cause from darkness into light. Egypt, the ancient jewel, was safe at last. The Desert War's shadow lifted from the crucial Suez Canal. The Suez, a lifeline for nations, was secured. Its waters, once threatened, now flowed with renewed strategic importance. Had Rommel reached its banks, history might have bled a different story. But here, the turning tide held firm. El Alamein truly changed everything. It was the moment where despair gave way to defiant hope. A roar went up, echoing across continents. Allied morale soared, a desperately needed breath of life, a surge of belief. On the home front, tired hearts found solace. News of victory fueled their resolve, rekindling the flame of hope. Leaders, once burdened, stood taller. The victory forged an unbreakable bond of trust and shared purpose. Far away, in the heart of Nazi Germany, the news struck like a hammer blow. Their desert dreams turned to dust. Precious resources, irreplaceable men, were lost. A crippling blow to Nazi Germany's already strained war machine. The desert's defeat cast a long shadow back home. The invincible facade of Nazi Germany began to crack. From the crucible of El Alamein, vital lessons emerged. Combined arms, once theory, proved its devastating power. The desert became a classroom. Future invasions, larger and bolder, would be built upon these hard-won insights. And so, El Alamein, a distant desert battle, irrevocably altered the course of World War II. A new chapter began. The desert winds still whisper tales of El Alamein, a place where history was truly rewritten. Its legacy endures. It was not merely a clash of titans, but a testament to strategic brilliance, minds orchestrating victory from despair. And then, the overwhelming force, a tide of iron and fire, meticulously gathered, sweeping relentlessly across the barren sands. But beneath the steel, the human spirit shone brightest. The unwavering tenacity of soldiers facing impossible odds held fast. This epic confrontation was a crucible of courage and sacrifice, forged indelibly in the harsh heat of the desert. El Alamein truly was the turning point, a pivotal moment that irrevocably shifted the desperate momentum of World War II. It stands, etched in sand and iron, as one of history's most decisive and hard-won military engagements. A true victory. Its echoes remind us of the immense cost, but also of the indomitable will when humanity faces its darkest hours. If these echoes resonate with you, subscribe, share your thoughts, and join us again in exploring history's most epic conflicts.